Welcome to the Copperfield Electric Podcast. If you're a homeowner, you already know that some upgrades aren't just maintenance. They are major investments in your home's safety and really its future. Our mission today is a deep dive into budgeting for a full electrical panel replacement. It's one of the most critical investments you can make, but it's also one of the most misunderstood.
And it's so timely. For so many homeowners, especially if you're in an older house, this isn't an optional thing anymore. We're talking about the absolute power center of your home. And the context is key here. An upgrade is about safety, yes, but also about compliance. And honestly, it's about meeting the huge power demands of modern life.
Right.
If you've got central AC, or you're even just thinking about an EV charger, your current panel might already be failing.
That's so true. And for this deep dive, we have to give credit to our source of this great local knowledge, Copperfield Electric. They're a family-owned business, a 24-hour electrician serving Orange County and Southern California. They really know this stuff, and they hold license number 1094740. Okay, so let's just jump right in. The big question. How does a homeowner even know they need to start budgeting for this? Before we talk money, let's talk about the why.
Right. Well, the sources give us two really undeniable signs that your system is running way past its safe limits. And these are not just little annoyances, they're structural warnings.
Okay, let's unpack those. The first one has to be the most common thing people experience. Frequent circuit breaker trips. The power just clicks off in one part of the house again and again.
Exactly. That repeated tripping is a clear signal your system is overloaded. It just means it cannot safely handle the amount of power you're asking it to. You've added new appliances over the years, and the original system just wasn't built for that kind of load.
A breaker is supposed to trip sometimes, right? To prevent a problem.
Right, occasionally. But if it's happening every month, or worse, every week, your system is just chronically insufficient.
Okay, and the second sign is, I think, a little more subtle, maybe even a bit more unnerving. Flickering or dimming lights.
That's the one. And it usually happens when a big appliance kicks on. Think about your refrigerator's compressor or your central AC unit starting up.
Right.
If at that exact moment, the lights in another room dim or flicker, that's telling you the entire electrical system is straining. And that strain translates directly into heat and degradation inside your panel.
Which brings us right to the safety issue. This isn't just about convenience. Upgrading is really a mandatory investment to prevent serious electrical hazards, especially if your panel is, 30 years old or more?
Absolutely. What happens inside those old panels is fascinating and kind of terrifying. You get degraded wire insulation, oxidation on the bus bars. The internal parts are just failing after years and years of heating up and cooling down. So if you have an older panel, you're not just budgeting for an upgrade, you are actively mitigating a significant fire risk.
That context is so important. So once we know the upgrade is a must, we get to the big one. What's this actually going to cost? Let's dive into the budget breakdown, materials, labor, all of it.
Okay, looking at the data, the typical range for a full system upgrade is pretty wide. You're generally looking at somewhere between $1,500 and $5,000 overall.
And to budget for that, you have to know what's pushing the price up or down.
Exactly.
So let's start with the most common scenario. Someone has an old fuse box or maybe a 100-amp panel, and they need to get up to the modern standard.
Right. For that common upgrade, say from an old fuse box to a modern 200-amp panel, you should budget between $1,500 and $3,000.
And just for anyone new to this, what exactly is an amp?
Good question. An amp, or ampere, is basically the measure of how much electrical current the panel can safely handle at one time. So going from 100 to 200 amps is literally doubling the amount of power your home can safely use at any given moment.
Wow. And what if you still have one of those really old fuse boxes? Is that a more complicated job?
It is, yeah. A fuse box uses those little glass fuses that burn out, and you have to replace them. Moving to a modern breaker panel means you get reusable switches. It's much safer, much easier. But that switch usually means more complex wiring and a bigger distribution board, and that's what can push you towards that $3,000 mark.
And what about the other end of the spectrum, the really high-end, large homes?
For the larger 400 amp systems, the cost goes up. You're typically looking at $3,000 to $5,000. This is for homes with just huge electrical demands. The higher cost reflects the complexity, the bigger equipment, and often you're even upgrading the main wires coming to the house from the utility pole. It's a much bigger job.
Okay, now for the part of the budget people always forget, the labor. It's not just the cost of the box. The source material says labor is typically $500 to $1,500. That's like 30 to 50% of the total cost. That's a huge slice.
It's a huge slice, and you can't ignore it. And beyond that, you have to budget for inspection fees and permits. Those can add another $200 to $500 to the total.
And that's not something you can just skip, right?
You absolutely cannot skip it. And this is where hiring a quality licensed electrician is so crucial. They handle all that paperwork. They make sure the work meets all the local safety codes.
So why is that permit so important? I mean, why can't I just save that $500?
Well, think about it this way. If you ever have an electrical fire, God forbid, and an inspector finds the work wasn't permitted, your homeowner's insurance could just refuse to pay out.
Wow.
You are paying for safety and compliance. It's why a company like Copperfield Electric, for example, emphasizes being honest. They only diagnose a problem if there is a problem. Getting transparent quotes that include permits saves you so much trouble later on.
That makes perfect sense. And that focus on doing it right leads us to the next big decision, choosing the right panel size. Not just for now, but for the future. Let's look at 100, 200, and 400 amps.
This is where you have to think 5, maybe 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
A 100 amp panel, which used to be the standard, is really only enough for a small home today. Maybe one with gas heating, no central air. But, and this is a big but, if you plan on adding any modern appliance, a new electric dryer, anything, you'll hit that limit fast. You'll just have to upgrade again.
So for the average homeowner, especially here in Southern California with our AC needs, what's the baseline?
The 200 amp panel is the modern standard. It's what we recommend for most average-sized homes. It's basically essential if you have central air, an electric water heater, or, the big one today, an electric vehicle charger.
The EV charger. That seems to be the thing that pushes everyone over the edge.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
A level 2 EV charger can pull 40 or 50 amps all by itself.
Wow.
If your whole house is only rated for 100 amps, half your capacity is gone just charging your car. That leaves very little for everything else. Upgrading to 200 amps gives you the headroom you need for modern life.
And what about those 400 amp systems? Who really needs that much power?
That's for much larger homes or places with really specialized equipment. Think about a house with 2 EV chargers, maybe a guest house or an ADU on the property, or a big pool heater, a professional-grade workshop in the garage. The 400 amp panel just ensures robust, stable power no matter what you throw at it.
So the takeaway here is don't just install the panel you need today. Install the panel you'll need 5 years from now. If you're thinking about solar or another EV, go bigger now. It'll save you money in the long run. Okay, now that we've covered the why, the how much, and the what size, let's circle back to Copperfield Electric for a moment.
Right. What really stands out is that they're a family-owned business. They're focused on safety and customer satisfaction in their own community. Their team is licensed, bonded, insured, background checked. I mean, that's the level of trust you need when someone is working on your home's main power source.
And their specialties line up perfectly with what we've been talking about. Electrical panel upgrades and replacements and EV charger installation is what they do.
And their availability is a huge deal. They are a 24-hour electrician. They offer 247 emergency services. So if your old panel finally gives out in the middle of the night, you know who to call.
And they cover a wide area, right?
They do. All of Orange County. We're talking Irvine, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, Mission Viejo, and the surrounding areas in Southern California.
So let's boil this all down for you. What are the key takeaways from our deep dive today? 1, panel upgrades are not optional. They're for safety and for handling modern life. Think AC and EVs. 2, a safe permitted installation will typically cost between $1,500 and $5,000, depending on the amperage and the work involved. And 3, choosing the right size 100, 200, or 400 amp is all about planning for your future needs, not just your current ones.
And that raises one last question for you to think about. If upgrading your panel to 200 amps lets your home safely support energy-efficient choices, like LED lighting, what else should you be looking at? What about other overlooked things, like your home's grounding system or those GFCI safety outlets, or even your home's wiring? Getting those checked professionally is how you maximize the safety and efficiency of that brand new panel. It's about looking at the whole system.
That is a perfect thought to end on. A comprehensive checkup is key. For reliable electrical service here in Orange County or Southern California, you can contact Copperfield Electric directly. The number is 626-622-9694. And remember, they are the licensed experts holding license number 1094740. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.